When I was still deciding on whether or not I wanted to start promoting intimate instruments publicly on my page, the first person who came to my mind was Dr. Ruth. Dr. Ruth dedicated her life to taking the shame out of conversations about sexuality. Here's my favorite clip from her.
Would you welcome, please, Dr. Ruth Westheimer. I noticed something right away. As soon as you say the word sex, you get this kind of a little tittering sound, almost uncomfortableness or silliness. Why is that?
First of all, it is because that's the way we were brought up. That between the waist and the knees, it doesn't exist. Except maybe for having babies.
Right.
But not for pleasure, and not for anything that might be conducive to some good feelings.
Yeah. Is that because of our upbringing, our
yes,
cultural patterns?
And part of what I am doing on my radio program is to try to bring about some sexual literacy, which would mean that the way you can talk about reading, writing, arithmetic, you can also talk about sex.
Right.
And if you do it in good taste, and if you do it properly, then it can be, everything can be talked about. If we could bring about talking about sexual activity, the way we talk about diet, the way we talk about food,
right,
without it having this kind of connotation that there's something not quite right about it, then we would be a step further and still bring about good, scientifically based knowledge.
And I guess a lot of people are sexually repressed. They repress those feelings or perplexed because sometimes people are a little afraid of their own sensuality or sexual feelings. I remember some years ago, I had Dr. David Rubin on the show, and he'd had a book out, and the NBC censors said, well, there's only one thing you can't talk about on the show. And I said, well, what is that subject we should not discuss? And they said, masturbation. And I said, why can one not discuss masturbation on television? And that struck me very, very funny. That was the one thing that somebody thought that should not be discussed.
You see, there again, the important part here is that one has to discuss the issue of self-gratification in a context that is possible for people from different walks of life, because people are very concerned about it because it has never been talked about.
Well, I remember when I was a child, there were myths that everybody has heard, and they will laugh, you will go blind.
Or hair in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, all of those things.
You lose your hair.
All of that. And if that myth was true, I haven't seen a thing since 1938. It's not true, but those myths still hold on.
Yes, let's get away from this way of myth, because I see many people, seriously speaking now, not sexually speaking, women who have never felt sexual gratification. They don't touch themselves because they have been told a good girl doesn't do that. So masturbation, what we have to say is that it's a healthy part of sexual activity.
If it's happening, we should be talking about it, and if we don't talk about it and create these spaces where it can be discussed in a respectful and educational manner, curious people will still seek out this information, but the only thing that will come up when they do so will be exploitive and very dangerous types of material. I'm in no way an expert myself, but I am learning, and I want to create this space because I don't really have a lot of shame. I have no problem with openly talking about these things myself. So I feel like it's a perfect opportunity for me to create that space in whatever way that I can. So thank you, Dr. Ruth, my hero.